Crystal Practice Management's Basic Billing. We're here to show you how an invoice is created and talk about all the buttons on the invoice and what they do. To get started, I'm going to click on my records, and this is going to open up my search for patient. I can search by this criteria listed here. Most recent patients accessed here, or if my patient is currently signed in. I'm going to double click, and this is going to bring me into the records section of Crystal. Right here, I'm going to finalize this prescription as your doctor would and close this tab. When a prescription is finalized and you maneuver to the A&P tab here, Crystal is going to auto-populate those refractive errors for you here. To the right, you have medical diagnosis shortcut buttons. When you click on one, it's going to open up a box for you to choose the specific diagnosis code that you are looking for. Down here in the bottom is where you're going to assign your CPT codes. These are also shortcut buttons in Crystal. Today, we're going to assign a 92014 and a 92015 for demonstration purposes. Once I'm done assigning my CPT codes and my diagnosis codes are listed, your doctor has two options. Your doctor can complete the medical record and close it out, or if your doctor prefers to assign their own diagnosis codes to the CPT codes, they're going to want to click on this R-slip button here. The R-slip button is the electronic version of a super bill or billing sheet. Clicking on it is going to open up the routing slip. Here, your provider can assign the diagnosis codes by checking inside each individual box or clicking on the letter above. Once your provider is done assigning the diagnosis codes, they're going to want to come down here and click on Close. You do not want to click on the red X as it will not save the information here. I'm going to go ahead and close this one, and I'm going to go ahead and close the records page to protect my patient's information. Once I'm done seeing and charting with my patient, I'm going to go ahead and release them to the front desk or the checkout. Checkout is going to click on billing, and they're going to search for the patient by this criteria here, most recent patients here, or if they're signed in here. I was working on Mr. Willis, so I'm going to double click here. You'll see that I'm getting this pop-up right here, Create Invoice from Routing Slip. I'm going to say yes, and this is my invoice. You'll see my diagnosis codes are populated here. My CPT codes are populated here. To the right are my diagnosis code boxes, and they are checked off because my provider did check them off in the routing slip in the records side. If my doctor had not checked the boxes off, you could come in here and check them off right here. Right here are my insurances. If I do not want to attach an insurance, I'm simply going to click on the blank box on the top and no insurance will be attached. If I want to assign insurance, I can click on an individual insurance and it will assign it. If I also wanted to have a separate insurance assigned on the second line item, I could choose a different insurance. Or I could click on Assign Insurance. And when I click on Assign Insurance, it's going to open up all the insurances that this patient has. If I click on Blue Cross Blue Shield, it is going to assign Blue Cross Blue Shield across the board down here. To the right is my copay, discount, patient responsibility, patient total. If my patient has a copay, I'm going to enter it here. I'm going to click on Insurance Notes here, and that's going to pull in any information that I had typed in inside Blue Cross Blue Shield. I typed in $25 copay for this year. I'm going to go ahead and click on copay and put $25 and tab over, and you'll see that my patient now has a $25 balance. Once you're done editing your invoice, you're going to come down and click on Save Invoice. I'm going to get this pop-up right here, which is asking if I would like to add a recall, delete, change, or schedule one a year out. This pop-up is happening because I have an exam and refraction listed on the invoice. Right here, the next pop-up you see is letting me know that this claim was added to the batch. This claim has not been filed yet. It is simply waiting to be filed in the eClaim section. I'm going to click OK. And down here, you'll see my patient has a $25 balance. and my insurance balance to Blue Cross Blue Shield is $145. To make a patient payment, I'm going to click on Make Payment Adjustment, and I'm going to get this record of a payment box. Cash, check EFT, and credit are used for patient payments. Insurance is going to be used for an individual insurance posting on this invoice. To the right is Other. This box could be used if you needed to write off a balance for some reason. To the left right here is the amount. You can manually type the amount in. You can click on Invoice, and that's going to pull the $25 in for you. If you click on Total, that's going to pull the entire patient balance in. If you clicked on Linked Accounts, it's going to pull in any linked accounts that have balances. For this demonstration, I'm going to pull in the invoice balance only of $25. Right here is cash received. If my patient handed me $30 cash, I could type it in and Crystal is going to tell you the change you owe your patient. You do not have to use this box, but it's there if you need it. I'm going to click on Save Payment, and this Edit Payment window is going to come up. I'm simply going to click on Update Payment Information to apply my payment. Here you see the $25 cash payment has been applied. My patient's balance is now at $0. The next invoice I'm going to show you is also going to be from the records section. However, this time we are not going to attach insurance. I'm going to go back to my records, back to my A&P section here, and I'm just going to refresh my routing slip. And again, you don't have to open the routing slip unless you want to assign the diagnosis codes. This time we are not assigning insurance, so I'm not going to assign the diagnosis codes in the routing slips so you can see what that will look like as well. I'm going to go ahead and close this. And again, my patient's going to be walked up front, and they are going to go ahead and proceed with the checkout process. I'm going to click on Billing. And again, I can search my patient by this criteria right here if they happen to be checked in right here still, or most recent patients accessed. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And here is the information. The diagnosis codes did pull in, the CPT codes did pull in, however, no diagnosis codes were selected here to the right. For this invoice, we are just going to save the invoice because we are not attaching any insurance. I'm going to click on Save Invoice. Again, my recall is going to pop up because I did see the patient for a routine exam and refraction. If I needed to make a recall, I could from here. Now my patient's total balance is $170, and there is nothing linked to insurance here because we did not attach insurance here. I'm going to go ahead and add a patient discount by clicking on Add Discount. You can add a discount for each individual line item if you'd like, or you can click on All and add a discount across the board. You can do a certain amount right here, or you can do a percentage. I'm going to give my patient a 20% discount. My reason for discount here is a courtesy discount. This drop-down is customizable in the admin section. In my notes section, I'm going to go ahead and type a note. And then I'm going to click Save. This is what that line is going to look like. You'll see it is in green, and you'll see the note that I had put in that discount did populate here. My patient received a $34 discount, and now they owe $136. I'm going to go ahead and make a payment, and this time I'm going to choose credit. Again, I can choose to type in this amount for this invoice, or click on Invoice and pull it in, or click on Total and bring the entire amount in if I wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and click on Invoice, and that's going to pull in that $136. On my type here, I'm going to choose what kind of credit card I'm using. This is also customizable in the admin section. I'm going to enter the last 4 digits. However, that's not mandatory. I'm going to come down here and click on Save Payment. My edit window popped up once again, and I'm just going to click on Update Payment to apply that payment. There you'll see the patient credit card, MasterCard, was applied of $136, and the balance is now 0 at the bottom. The third way I'd like to show you how to create an invoice is creating an invoice from scratch. Let's say that you sell product in your office and someone walks in off the street and would like to buy that product. To do that, you're going to double click on billing and search for my patient either here, most recent patients, or if they're signed in. I'm going to go ahead and double click on most recent patients here. Once I have my patient pulled up, I'm going to click on create new invoice. You'll see there are no diagnosis codes listed and there are no procedure codes listed here. To search for an item, you can search by bill code, procedure code, or description. Once I have my bill code entered, you'll see that items start to populate down here. I'm going to choose the item I want, and then I'm going to tab over. If I am done and this is the only line item, I would simply come down to Save Invoice. If I needed to add another item, I would tab down once more, and it's going to allow me to enter another item. This time I'm going to enter the procedure code. And once I find the item, I'm going to once again tab over. Here is the quantity. Let's say that my patient wanted 2 boxes of contact solution. I would change the quantity here, and you'll see when you tab over, Crystal's automatically going to do the math for you here. Once I'm done adding the items my patient is here to purchase, I'm going to come down to Save Invoice. Let's say that my patient wants to make a payment in cash, but they only have $20. I'm going to type in $20 here, and I'm going to go ahead and save that payment. I'm going to update that payment, and you'll see that my patient made a cash payment of $20. They now want to make a payment of $28.97 with a credit card. I'm going to come down to Make a Payment Adjustment, and this time I'm going to choose Credit. I'm going to go ahead and pull in the invoice balance that's remaining, and choose the credit card type, enter my last 4 digits, and then save that payment. I'm going to update payment to apply it, and you'll see my patient has now paid in full. Now, let's go ahead and discuss all the buttons on the bottom here. To print a receipt, I can click on Print, and this is what a receipt will look like when you print it out and hand it to your patient. I have my name, address, phone number, fax, email, and my logo here. Down here you see the diagnosis box. This is something that you can hide in Crystal so it does not print on receipts. Below that is the information for today's invoice. The invoice is customizable in the admin section. To the right, you have 2 buttons right here. If you are integrating with VSP, you will see 2 buttons. If you are not integrating with VSP, you will only see 1 large blue button that says CMS form. When you click on CMS form, this is what the form looks like. You will have a deeper dive on the CMS form in your advanced billing training. To the right is your Make a Payment and Adjustment. Next is your product return. If your patient is returning products, you will use this button here. Void an invoice. When you void an invoice, it's going to void it out completely. It's going to ask if you're sure you want to void this invoice. If you say yes, this invoice is gone. It is no longer listed here. The only way to view a voided invoice is in your daily or multi-day report. You'll learn more about reports in your advanced billing training. The next button is your Edit Invoice. When you click on this button, it's going to open up the invoice, and you can make quite a few edits here. If the physician needed to be changed, you could change it here. If a staff member that was assigning information here needed to be assigned, you could assign that staff member here. The date of service could be changed here. The Assign Insurance is going to assign insurance across the board on an invoice. The Edit Diagnose button is going to open up a box here. Let's say the doctor assigned H25.13 and you needed to add that diagnosis code here. You would click on it, click on your double arrow, and it's going to move over for you. If I needed to search for a code that was not listed here, I could come down to ICD code or description and start typing in what it is I'm looking for. If I don't know the whole code, that's okay. I can click on the double arrow and it's going to pull all 825s up for me to go through. If the one I see in here is the correct one, I can highlight it and use my double arrow here to move it over. If this was the incorrect one and I did not want this one, I would simply come down and remove the diagnosis code. Since this has changed to a medical visit, I want my diagnosis code to be my primary pointer. I'm going to want to move it up with my up arrow. You could also move it down if you needed to. Once I'm done editing my diagnosis codes, I'm going to close this box. And you'll see here that my medical diagnosis code is now listed at the very top, diagnosis pointer A. When you make changes here, you will also have to make the changes here. Crystal is not going to automatically update previous items you have checked off here if you make changes to the left. To make these changes, I'm going to double click on my line item. And you'll see here I can do quite a few things. I can edit the insurance, I could edit the amount, I could edit the copay. I can change my diagnosis pointers here. So this one I'm going to choose A because I want my exam to go out as a medical visit now. I'm going to simply come down here after I choose that and update. You'll see that my line item is blue now. Blue means that there was a change on this line item. Black means that it's original. If you double click on a line item and you need to void a line item, you can click on Void Transaction and it will show up in red. If you void a transaction on an invoice and print a receipt for your patient, the red line items will not populate on that receipt. If you made a mistake and did not mean to void this item, you can double click on it and unvoid that transaction and you'll see that it is back here in black. I'm going to go ahead and update my diagnosis codes on this item as well and update, and now it is in blue. Once I'm done making updates, I can simply come down here to update that invoice. However, if my patient decided that they wanted to buy a contact solution now, I could add it to the invoice simply by clicking here. If I wanted to add another line item, I would simply just start typing. Once I'm done editing my line item, if I needed insurance, I could add insurance. If I needed to add a diagnosis code, I could add a diagnosis code. I'm going to go ahead and click on Update Invoice. And now you'll see that this line item has been added and my patient now has another balance of $14.99. The next tab was Add a Discount. So if I did need to add a discount to this line item specifically, I could click on Add Discount, click on this line item, and say I wanted to do a 10% discount. The reason for discount, we can say coupon this time. Again, this box right here is customizable in the admin section. I'm going to go ahead and save, and you're going to see that right here, my patient has a coupon discount of $1.50 off of 000, which is my CPT code and bill code listed right here. Down here, save to PDF. If I needed to save this receipt as a PDF, I could. Upload to portal. If I needed to upload my receipt to the portal for the patient instead of printing it out, I could also do that. Clinical summary is going to be used for MIPS and meaningful use. Email portal access is a shortcut to email your patient portal access if they do not have it, or if they lost their password and needed to reset it. The next tab is Email with Office. We do integrate with Microsoft Outlook. However, this email is not HIPAA compliant. Next is Claim History. Claim History is going to show you the claim history for this invoice specifically. Each time you add it to the batch, if you uploaded it to your clearinghouse, if you printed this claim, it's going to show you the action type along with the date, the time, insurance, and employee. To the right, you have print and view options. The column view is the view you see now. The row view is this view. And you can also customize views in the admin section as well. Hide diagnosis and portal information. These two boxes, when you check them off and print your patient's receipt, is going to look a little bit different. Here you'll see that the Hide Diagnosis box is no longer listed here because I've checked it off. Down here, it's going to give my patient the website address for the patient portal. It's going to give the patient their username. However, it is not going to give your patient a password on a receipt. This will only populate if your patient has portal access. To the right is your patient balance for this invoice, and below that is the insurance balance for this invoice. If you had multiple insurances listed here on the invoice, it would break down those balances per insurance. To the top left, Print and View Old Invoices is what we are in. This allows you to view and print previous invoices. Transaction History is going to show you the entire transaction history for your patient. You can print this entire transaction history if you'd like, or you can select certain items. You can select bulk items by holding down your Shift key and dragging down. Or you can click on certain items and hold your Control key and highlight only those items and print those. To the right, you have shortcut buttons right here. The recall button is going to open up the shortcut to the recall, so you can make a recall change from here, add one, delete one, or schedule a year out. Alerts is going to allow you to create an alert here if you need to. Linked is going to show you all linked accounts to this patient. You can also double click on these and go into those accounts as well from here. To the right is a shortcut to your Files section. You can view this item here. You can right click and upload this to the online portal. If you have a scanner attached to this computer, you could scan an item here. You could also remove an item from here if you needed to. Letter, this is where you can create letters and print them out. There are multiple different kinds of letters that are defaulted in here already. However, if you decide you would like to customize these, you can. To the right of that is Show Insurance. This is going to show you this patient's insurance listed on their account. Right here is Blue Cross Blue Shield and my medical notes for Blue Cross Blue Shield. To the right is Show Demographics. This is going to show you your patient's ID. Show Images is going to show you scanned insurance cards if you scan insurance cards here. You can toggle over and view secondary, tertiary, and vision insurance as well. Next is the task. When you click on this item, it's going to show you all tasks your patient is attached to. You can also create a task from here if needed for this patient. To the right is your patient's overall balance. Underneath that is the overall insurance balance. There is a spreadsheet that Crystal does send out, and there is a YouTube video that shows you how to manipulate that spreadsheet and import it into Crystal. That's going to wrap it up for your basic billing with Crystal Practice Management.